Hey guys, this is the authentication part of the video, and we will see how to authenticate users on our app using Firebase Authentication. So how Firebase Authentication works is we have to give something called credential for each and every account, and Firebase uses that credential to authenticate users. Now how to give this, how to create this credential so that we can give it to Firebase. Credential is a unique string related to each and corresponding to each and every account. So we can use Google sign-in to generate this credential. Now we can make users to select a specific account which is already installed on their device, and once they select a specific account, we will ask Google to give an ID token relating to that account. So Google gives us an ID token, and we can use that ID token to generate the credential. Here ID token is also a unique string, but this ID token is already generated by Google, so we use that ID token to generate a credential and we give that credential to Firebase. So the first thing is we have to make the user to select a Google account. For that we are implementing a button which says sign in with Google, and once the user clicks that button we make the user to select a Google account. So we will see how to implement that button. So this is Google sign in button, and all this part, this find view by ID, this set on click listener is all under my, like this is all done by me, so you don't have to explain all this. You have to explain from this thing, like this create request, the sign in, like these methods are done by you, so are created by, are written by you. So you have to explain this create request, the sign in method, and this on activity result, and this Firebase auth with Google method. So these four things we have to like explain to them. So the first thing is create request. Now we can see that we are like calling this create request method here. So once this create request method is called, we create a Google sign in options object. Now what Google sign in options is, we have to let Google know that this app is asking for request ID token. So we have to tell Google that this request ID token mentioned here, and we are using this request ID token is unique for each and every app. So we are telling Google that we are like we are asking ID tokens using this request ID token. So we have to like give this request ID token here, and we are requesting emails of the users, so we have to also type dot request email and dot build. Now this Google sign in client variable is a global variable. You can see that we have created this Google sign in account variable here, so this is a global variable and we are initiating it here. Now what does this line do is, we have to create a client which is actually the login screen or the app in whole. So this Google sign in class has a get client method, and this get client takes this and Google sign in options as parameters. So Google sign in options, we have already created this here, and once again this Google sign in options is to let Google know that we are requesting emails, and we are requesting this email using this ID token. We cannot request Google to give us the emails directly, so we have to mention which app, like which app is asking. So we have to like mention this request ID token also, and once we get the client we store it in this variable, Google sign in client variable. So this is actually the main part, the sign in method. So once we click, so you can see that here there is one on click method. So when we click this Google sign in button, we call this sign in method. So what does this sign in method does is this creates an intent, and we pass that intent to this start activity for result method. Now basically intent is like the destination. For example, when you click a button, Android should know where to go. So this intent is the destination, and we can get this intent using the client. Like we have created this Google sign in client thing, no? So we can use that Google sign in client. It also has this get sign in intent method in it, so we can call get sign in intent method, and this will return an intent. And this start activity for result method is this method is inside Android framework, so we haven't created this method. It is already present in Android, so we call that start activity for result method, and we pass in this intent. And there is this thing called RC sign in. This is nothing but a random number which we have already mentioned here. This is a like static integer, and I have given some random number 7 here. So you have to just pass this number, and what this method does is this actually opens a new screen. For example, like when you click next button, you have to the Android opens next screen. Now while there are two things, one is start activity and one is start activity for result. What start activity does is it just takes you to the destination, and that's all. Now what start activity for result does is it takes you to the destination, and it also reads what input you have given in that destination. So this is another method called on activity result. So when you call the start activity for result method, this thing gets like this thing is also called. Now here, if request code is RC sign in, which is actually what it is, we have given RC sign in here. So if the request code is RC sign in, then this thing will take place. So first thing is we have to create a task. Now I know task is a new thing, but task is nothing but telling Android that to do this thing. So what task does is, so we are like mentioning a variable called task, and what this task thing does is it gets the sign in account clicked by the user. So when a user clicks a sign in account, that sign in account is saved in this task variable, and we will do a try catch block, and inside try we again save that account inside this account variable. Now when this task is like when this task thing is completed, we don't know whether Google has actually given us the account or not, so we do it in a try catch block. So if the task, like we get this task dot get result, we have this task dot get result method. So if the task dot get result is successful, then it will save that account inside this account variable, or else it will throw an API exception. Now we can catch that API exception in this catch block, and we can print that error message on the screen. So if Google successfully gives us the account which the user has selected, then that account is saved in this variable. Now there is this another method called Firebase Auth with Google, which is a method written by written by us. So we have to, so this method takes in an ID token as an argument. As I said, we can get an account's ID token from Google. So we already have the account, so we want its ID token, so we can get that ID token using account.getID token method, and this will return a string called ID token, and that string is passed in this Firebase Auth with Google method. Now inside this Firebase, as Firebase Auth with Google method is called, inside this Firebase Auth with Google method we do the final thing, which is creating the credential and giving it to Firebase. So creating a credential is also easy. We have this Google Auth Provider class. All these classes are imported beforehand, so you can see that there are so many import statements here. Google sign in, Google sign in account, Google sign in client, all these, like, you can also see that there are many Firebase auth import statements. So all these imports are done by me, so you don't have to worry. So we already have this Google Auth Provider class, and we can call the Google Auth Provider dot get credential method, and we have to pass that ID token. As I said, once we take the ID token from the user, we pass it through this method to generate a credential. Now we have successfully created a credential. Now the only thing is to tell Firebase that sign in with credential this thing. So here auth is actually a variable which is also a global variables mentioned here. So Firebase auth classes object auth is actually a global variable. So using that Firebase auth method, which is sign in with credential, we pass the credential to Firebase. Now after this add on complete listener. So after Firebase successfully successfully authenticates the user, we can we can take the user to the next screen, which is add additional details or some this other stuff, and this part is related to database, so you don't have to worry. All you have to do is just learn up to this. So once again I'll just summarize it. I know this is all new and difficult, but I'll just give you an overview so you will understand it better again. So the first thing is we have to create a request. Now this create request, we use this create request method to tell Google that we are requesting the ID tokens or we are requesting the accounts using this app. So we have to mention the request ID token of our app, and we have to mention what we are requesting, which is we are requesting emails, and we have to create a sign-in client, and this sign-in client is actually our login screen, so that Google knows what app is using this sign-in method. So we pass this sign-in options and this. So this variable, as you know, this refers to the class, so which is login activity. So we pass this and Google sign-in options inside this Google sign-in dot get client method. So this result is saved in sign-in client. Now actually this is the main method which takes place when sign in with Google button is clicked. As you can see, this is the sign in button, and when the sign in button is clicked, the sign in method is called, and this sign in method creates an intent, which is actually a destination. So the destination is to show the accounts, to show the list of accounts. So this is the destination. As we already know that we have saved what, we have told Google what we want. So, and we have saved that information in this sign in client. Also the sign in client has a method called get sign in intent, so this will return the intent which we need, and we will save that in sign in intent variable, and we do this start activity for result method. So what this will do is this will actually show the list of emails, and this thing will takes place when user clicks one of the account inside that. So when a user clicks an account, we create a task and the task is to get the sign in account from Google. So this will take some time. So after this thing happens, we will try and and if there's an exception, we can catch that exception and print what is the exception on the screen. So in the try block we can see that we are like task.get result means we actually get an account, so which means Google has successfully given us the account, and we can use this account to get the ID token. Now we give this ID token inside this Firebase auth method, and the Firebase auth method, as you can see, it takes a string called ID token and it passes that string inside this method called Google Auth Provider dot get credential, and this method returns the credential what we want and saves it inside this credential variable, and we give that credential variable to Firebase using firebase.auth, I mean mauth dot sign in with credential, and we pass the credential which we got, and that's all. Uh, After giving this, Firebase successfully authenticates the user, and after Firebase authentication is done, we can write, like we have written code here which tells that where to go. I mean, should we go to the additional detail screen or should we go to some other place, and this is all related to database, so you don't have to worry. All you have to learn is up to here. And if you like, if you haven't got any clear image, you can also check how this all works in YouTube and everything. So if you have any doubts, feel free to ask in chat or you can directly call me. That's all, and bye.